Now let's pick from where we left, and now we want to get started right away. And I can always select on this, press Control and select on that. And prior to even copying that, let me do that once we've created the U-bolts. So we'll begin with this far end here, where we'll create the U-bolt here. Now, to create the U-bolts, I want to use the center of this member. Let me just snap on that spot, and I want to create a center point as a center right there. So I want to offset these centers. First of all, let's first of all get the full dimension of this particular clamp. So this is 140. So since it's 140, I want to give it an offset of of 50-50 at the other end. So let me just select on that member. Let me select on that point and come to special copy and come to linear. So on the X direction, let me just change the Z axis to 0. I'll come to X and I'll key in 50. I'll give it an offset of 50 and 50 on the other end. So I'll right click, select once again, and right click and come to linear and just prefix this dimension with a negative sign and click copy. So in here, I want to copy this upward by dimension. So I'll select on this, then copy it up by 40. So prior to that, let me confirm the distances here. This could be how many? How many? So this is 125. So 125. If we'll use 100. We'll use 80. 80 will be okay. So if I select these two, then right click and come to special copy and pick linear. And on the z-axis, after changing everything to 0, on the z-axis, I'll just key in 40 there and prefix that dimension with a negative sign and click and give it 40. Remember, there's some points here that might create some confusion, and that should not happen to you because we're doing what we know. We know where we're heading. Now, let me close that. So the moment I've closed that, I'm going to use the same points to create a curvature or the profile of our U-bolt. So because we need some extension of the U-bolt outward. So first of all, I'll give an offset of from this end to the other end by 130 in the y-axis there. So I'm just key in here 130 and click OK. So that has gone the other end. So I want also this to come front for an extension by some extension, and that's okay. I don't need to extend as such, but anyway, I need to extend that. So let me just come here and get some extension frontward by feeding some dimension there. Let me give it maybe 40 would be okay. So if I click that, it will be 40 coming front. So let me just go ahead and start placement of the U-bolt. I'll come to polybeam here and start my polybeam from there, go to that side, come to that direction, and make sure I snap in the right direction. So I think we are in the right spot. So yeah, if I press my milled button on the mouse, you can see we have a U-bolt, but the profile is way big, so that to an extent you can really notify what's going on. So let's change that to a rod. So let's give some time for the profile catalog the box to come. So from here we'll be able to pick on the right profile, but we are going to use circular profile. So let me just come to circular section here and pick a D profile. So I'm going to use a D20. So once I've clicked on that, I'll go ahead and click apply. I'll click apply. So once I've clicked apply, I'll go ahead and click modify once again to give the change of the profile and okay to change. So we've changed this. So this is okay. So to make this look more attractive, let's let the U-bolt to try to have a different color of a bolt, a default color of the bolt. So let's change that to that color. So that will be okay. So the rest, like this one, we'll change them to blue. So let's just select everything here and change this to blue as the legs looks like. So let me just click on that and come here and just change everything to a different color. So I'll click apply, and that has changed. If I click on that, and if I come here and also change that, let me just pick on that and change that to a different color, and this one also, let me change that so that we have some order in viewing what we're trying to come up with. So I've changed that. So let's come here under the U-bolt. The U-bolts, we want to define a U-bolt here. But if you take a look here, it's somehow a rectangle. So let's fill at this. So I'll select the U-bolts here and pick some handles here. So on the handles here, I'll pick rounding on the chamfer. So in here, just key 40. So once I've keyed 40, that will round it off. I'll click that handle there, click that handle and pick up the option of chamfer and give it 40 right there and click OK. So we've created a U-bolts right there. So what we have is that. So the next thing is, it's not clamping in any way. So what you're going to do, we are going to push it or take it inside by some dimensions. And so I'll select on it, then come to special copy, and I'll pick on special move, not special copy. So we'll move it inward. But prior to that, always take into account the position or the direction of the y-axis or the z-axis. So let me just key in maybe 10 here, and I'm going to move it like that, and we have that in place. So once we have that in place, remember it's just a solid. It's passing through this member, but it hasn't created a hole. But we'll create a hole there when it comes to the right time of creating that hole. So we had created an offset here in that direction. So we want to create another offset here using the center, using the edge of these polygons. So let me come to edit and pick on points here, pick on points there, snap on that point and snap on that point, and I'll pick, I haven't seen it, I've used a wrong point. Let me pick, I want to create a center point on this. So once I've picked on that, I'll click apply. Then I'm going to pick that point and right click and come to linear. So I want to offset it up on the direction of y-axis. So on the y-axis, I'm going to key in 40 millimeter, and I'll prefix that dimension with a negative sign and click OK. So once we are there, we are here. I'm going to come to I'm going to steal and use the points I've just created here. Let me just come here and create that, and I'm not seeing the member being created. Reason why is because it hasn't been, the profile has not been identified as a profile. So let's come back and try create a profile here. A profile has not been created. So let me default on a profile. Let me just double click on that profile and try change that to 7, or to change that to 6 or 6.4. And if you click apply, that will be okay. But we can always go back and change that to 3. So that I'm doing that so that we default on this, so that when the next profile we create, it will be a default of that. So if I come here once again and try create that, we'll be able to default that on that, because initially we were defaulting on the polybeam, but that is not a standard profile. That's why we are not seeing any member coming up. So let me just double click on this member. So from here, I'll go to profile dialog box, and from the catalog, I'll be able to pick a profile that will resemble a nut that we'll use to tie the U-bolt here. Now, let me just give it some time to load everything, and I'll scroll down to others. So if I'll click on the others here, and in here, I'll be able to pick on the nut. So this will look like a nut, and of course it is a nut. So what I'm going to do is, since our our rod is 20, I want a nut of maybe probably 24. So 24 will be much better. So I'll go ahead and click apply and give it an OK. So once I've given it an OK, I'll click apply. So the bolt, this nut, we'll have to change it, and slightly it's longer, and the nut shouldn't be that longer. So you have to change this to probably to 10. If I click on that, that has changed, and we want that to reduce from this far end here. So let me just key in 10, key in 10 here, and prefix that dimension with a negative sign. If I click that, that will be okay. So I've selected that. So let me change this to the same color of the U-bolt. So let me just pick that color. So remember, this member has not created a hole on this. So we'll create that. Remember that I had promised you that. So I'll select on this, then I want to shift it inward by some dimension. So I'll come to special move and pick on linear. So under linear, I'm going to on the y direction, I'm going to key in 10, but this time round we are moving the positive direction of y axis. So let me just move it like that, and to a position that it will seem gripping this member. So that will be okay, and no problem with that. So we can even reduce this further to make our nut not that big. We can add that. We can add that. So let me just add some dimensions here to shorten it, to make it less thick, or to reduce the height of our nut. So let me select on that, right click and come to spatial copy, and I want to copy it from that spot to this spot so that we have some two nuts right there. So I want to copy it here, and I have no point to snap on. So I'm going to create a point using these polygon edges of the U-bolt to create a center point right there, and come to apply and give it an OK. So I'll pick these nuts here, right click and come to copy, and I'll snap on the center here and copy it right there. Now from here, I'll be able now to copy this downward. So I'll be able to pick the nuts, all the nuts plus the U-bolt. Let me just give you some time, press the Alt and U-bolt here. I've picked the U-bolt. Let me just pick the U-bolt, then right click and come to copy. So once I've picked on copy, I'm going to use that point to copy everything in that direction on that spot. But I have left out my nuts, so I have to go back and do my selection afresh. So let me pick that. So once I've picked on it, right click and come to copy, and I want to copy it from that spot to that spot. Right click and come to interrupt. So I'll come to view, and I'll be able to come to rotate with mouse, and I'll be able to rotate it like that, and I have my U-bolts in place. So I haven't created a hole here on the nuts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to edit, pick cut by part, and I want to cut this part using this part, and I want to cut this part using this part. Let me just click on that. I want to cut this part using that part, this part using that part, and once again I'll come here, left click and right click, come to redraw, and I want to cut this part using the same part. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow the same process by selecting this member. I want to cut that using that member. So I've created a hole on both. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to redraw this to refresh everything. So we've created that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy another thing, the same thing on this far end. So it would be wiser because to copy this, but this U-bolt is not the same with this one. So we'll have to create a different one. So let's meet then on a different presentation on how to create on the other ones too. because we've gone way high of our regular time. So let's meet then, and I hope you've gotten something and you'll be able to try this by yourself. Bye bye.